come to, Daddy.
Oh.
I mean, stop there, beast.
So I just watched Ultraman Rising, a new Netflix original animated movie that's extra special, as it doubles as the first westernized adaptation of the Japanese superhero. You know, outside of stuff like comic books, but those don't count. This just in, I guess there was an animated Ultraman cartoon co-produced by Hanna-Barbera in 1987? Goes to show what I know about Ultraman. I just want to start off by saying that I am no expert on Ultraman. I've watched the original series and loved it, but I still need to watch a lot of the other shows. Being a pretty avid fan of tokusatsu and animation, I was actually quite excited for this one, especially with the involvement of Shannon Tyndall, who directed this film. He's probably most well known for creating the story for Kubo and the Two Strings and the Netflix miniseries Lost Ollie. Big Lost Ollie fan, by the way, and yes, I was very glad to see him show up in this movie. This bodes very well for the Lost Ollie fandom. That aside, what exactly is Ultraman Rising about? Well, the story follows Kenji, a famous baseball player who is also the superhero Ultraman. When a kaiju known as Gigantron is taken down by the Kaiju Defense Force, Kenji involuntarily takes on the responsibility of raising a giant monster baby. Along with the help of his dad, he must learn what it means to be a father, all while maintaining his athletic career and heroic duties. The film throws you right into it with little to no origin. Right off the bat, Kenji's father is already Ultraman, and we can assume that Kenji is simply the heir to the title. I think this approach makes a lot of sense, actually. The movie gets that most kids will not care about his origin, and Ultraman fans already get the gist of it. All you need to know is he's big and fights monsters, two things that are always consistent with Ultraman. Obviously, with the inclusion of a giant kaiju baby, the film does feel geared towards kids, but I think you could invalidate any complaints about that by the fact that Ultraman has always been a franchise for kids. Yes, there's plenty of violence in some of the 60s and 70s series, but Japan's guidelines for what's acceptable has always been drastically different from the US, especially in those times. And being a kids movie, it does have the typical stuff like burp and fart jokes, but that's a given when it's a movie about raising a baby. The film is ultimately about the struggles of parenthood and the special bond between a parent and their child. I like that we got to learn a lot about Kenji's relationship with his dad as the film progressed, as it all tied well into the film's apparent themes. The villain, Dr. Onda, also has ties to the theme, having tragically lost his wife and daughter to a kaiju, thus believing that they should all be exterminated. And while I do like that aspect to him, I was left wanting a bit more out of his character. He never came off as that menacing to me, like he had the right motivation for a villain, but he just needed something more. I will say that this is an absolutely beautiful looking movie, and it's a damn shame that this wasn't released in theaters, at least more than a select few. If Netflix is gonna be putting out stuff that looks this good, we should be allowed to witness it on the big screen. The animation is done by Industrial Lights and Magic. Yes, the Industrial Lights and Magic. If you aren't familiar, you may know them from everything. This, in my mind, is one of the best looking things Netflix has put out, animated or live action. There's a lot of bits where the animation really shows off the emotions of a scene, often through colorful, changing backdrops. And the action really picks up towards the end of it with some stunning fight sequences. It seemed to make up for where the action was lacking earlier in the film. But despite my praise, this movie is not without its fair share of flaws. My biggest complaint is that there's just too much to juggle in the film, which could have worked for it, given that that's a big part of parenting. But I never felt that Kenji having to raise this kaiju in any way made his life as a professional athlete or a superhero that much more difficult. If anything, it just drastically improves his life, which I guess is the point, but I felt like more could have been done there. I also think all the baseball stuff was a bit much. I would have liked it if the film had picked a lane and stayed there. Either it's about a baseball player raising a kaiju, or Ultraman raising a kaiju. doing both plot lines on top of the baby stuff felt like overkill, and I found myself less interested in the baseball stuff, but I don't think I would have had that problem had this not been an Ultraman movie, but then I may have not bothered watching it, so you're sort of in a pickle either way. I've done enough research to know that this started out as a different concept before Netflix offered Shannon Tindall the chance to rework it as an Ultraman film, and unfortunately, it shows. Despite this, I still think the amount of love put into this really shines through in the final product. You can just feel the passion behind it, and I really did have a fun time watching it. It's no groundbreaking masterpiece, partially it's a mess, but it really is the best animated film I've seen in 2024, which isn't saying a whole lot, but for that reason alone, I do recommend it. It's a cute little movie that both you and your kids, if you have any, can enjoy, so why not? Thank you for watching. I'm glad I could make a short little video on this fun film, and I just want to let you all know that I have more videos, including a Superman Returns review, right around the corner, so be sure to check those out. Thanks again, and goodbye.